Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj, wishing all our viewers a very happy New Year 2025. In the next hour, we'll show you how people across the world welcomed the New Year and other updates around the globe. But first, the headlines. Quad members renew pledge for working towards free, open and stable Indo-Pacific. India's External Affairs Minister highlights progress and contributions. Europe's Russian gas era comes to an end as Ukraine transit stops. Israel intercepts 2 projectiles fired from central Gaza in the first minutes of the new year. After US, French cities under the threat of cyber attacks, fear of digital insecurity looms large. World welcomes 2025 with fireworks and light shows. India ushers in New Year amid nail-biting cold. Russian gas supplies to Europe via Ukraine stopped at 12 midnight on New Year when a 5-year deal between Ukraine's gas transit operator Naftogaz and Russia's Gazprom expired. Ukraine has been allowing Russia to pipe gas to Europe via its territory under a 5-year deal signed in 2019. But Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has recently ruled out extending it as Russia-Ukraine conflict approaches the end of third year. The halt in Russian gas transit through Ukraine will see countries dip deeper into their reserves and seek to import more liquefied natural gas. Most other Russian gas routes to Europe are shut, including Yamal Europe via Belarus and Nord Stream under Baltic that was blown up in 2022. The only other operational Russian gas pipeline routes to Europe are the Blue Stream and Turk Stream to Turkey under the Black Sea. Russian gas accounted for less than 10% of the European Union's gas imports in 2023, but some EU members still depend largely on Russian gas for geographical and political reasons. EU and NATO members Hungary and Slovakia have maintained close ties with the Kremlin despite the conflict. The stoppage of transit of gas through Ukraine at the end of a 5-year agreement between Ukraine and Russia is a pivotal moment for Europe, which has worked to cut its reliance on Russian energy since the start of the Ukraine-Russia conflict in 2022. While the immediate economic impact is minimal, its geopolitical consequences could exacerbate divisions within the European Union, testing the bloc's unity in its support for Ukraine. Jessica Taneja reports from New Delhi.
Gazprom's final scheduled delivery through Ukraine on Tuesday marks the end of a transit system that had persisted despite nearly 3 years of war. Once a cornerstone of Europe's energy infrastructure, the transit route has dwindled in importance, with Russia's share of EU gas supplies plummeting from 40% pre-war to just 8% in 2023. Alternative sources from the US, Qatar and Norway have largely compensated for the shortfall. However, the cessation of Russian gas flows from Ukraine raises broader questions about the EU's cohesion. Countries like Hungary and Slovakia, which continue to rely on Russian gas via other routes such as the Turk Stream, are seen as undermining the EU's collective push to eliminate Russia's energy dependence. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has accused Slovakia of engaging in shadow agreements with Russia, highlighting tensions among neighboring states. Meanwhile, Slovakia's threats to cut power supplies to Ukraine have further strained relations. The European Commission has so far avoided direct involvement in brokering a new transit deal, instead emphasizing the bloc's success in diversifying its energy sources and maintaining high storage levels. Yet, this hands-off approach may leave room for discord to grow among member states. The economic implications of the halted transit are relatively limited compared to the geopolitical stakes. Gazprom will lose an estimated $5 billion in annual gas sales to Europe through Ukraine, while Kyiv will forfeit around $800 million in transit fees. These figures pale in comparison to the broader financial and strategic losses Russia has endured, including Gazprom's $7 billion loss in 2023, which was its first since 1999. For Ukraine, the end of the transit deal presents both risk and opportunity. Zelensky has signaled his unwillingness to allow Russian gas to transit through Ukrainian pipelines, emphasizing the importance of cutting financial flows that could fund Moscow's war efforts. However, halting transit could expose Ukraine's vast pipeline infrastructure to Russia's missile strikes, further jeopardizing the country's energy security during winter. For Europe, the Russian gas halt is unlikely to cause a repeat of the 2022 price spikes, given reduced reliance and sufficient reserves. But rising gas prices, which are now up 48% this year, continue to strain households and industries. As the region adjusts to the end of the Russia-Ukraine gas transit era, the challenge lies not only in maintaining energy stability, but also in preserving the unity that has defined Europe's response to Russian aggression. The cessation of transit flows may be a small step economically, but its impact on the EU's geopolitical cohesion could be profound. Jessica Taneja for DD India.
All right, and we'll be shortly joining with our correspondent Anil Thomas. Meanwhile, as the Russia-Ukraine conflict continues, Ukraine's military said on Tuesday that its forces hit a Russian oil depot in the western Smolensk region, setting fire to tanks storing oil products. Ukraine's general staff said the depot was used for military purposes. Smolensk region governor, he said that 10 Ukrainian drones were shot down by Russian air defenses, although the wreckage of one of them fell on the oil facility. According to the general staff, there were powerful explosions and thick smoke after the attack on Smolensk depot. In retaliation, Russia launched an aerial attack on Ukraine on Tuesday, striking the capital and other regions with multiple missiles and drones. Ukraine's Air Force reported a ballistic missile threat with at least 2 explosions heard in Kiev minutes later. All right, and DD India's Anil Thomas joins us live. Hi Anil, a very good morning to you. Anil, can we say it's a complete loss of Russia's hold over the European gas market, and what's the latest you have on this?
LPG operates, especially in the European Union. World over, there are close to 500 billion cubic meters of, LPG that's being created every year. And one takes a look at Russia's contribution, that's close to purely in terms of, Russia giving it to other countries is roughly around 16 billion cubic meters every year. In that context, and the current position that this deal has burned out, not much purely in terms of, how EU countries face, especially Eastern European countries that are going to face the heat, Austria, Slovenia, along with Hungary that are facing the heat, because they all three are landlocked and, they are facing the heat because of this particular deal, losing its timeline there. But having said that, close to, one takes a look at 2022, 2023, purely in terms of just, supply that's done or gas supply that's been done by Russia, there has been a drastic fall from 16 billion purely in terms of revenue, 16 billion in 2023 to, almost 1 billion in terms of revenue for Russia in 2024. So the particular factor has been factored in, especially by the European Union.
True.
And I think though there is not much being said, and there are other ways in which still Russian gas reaches many European countries like Spain, France, Netherlands, even for that matter, Belgium, and even Germany. There are tankers through which this gas has been carried. So that still exists. But having said that, this particular deal surely, rather displaces the apple cart that European Union, the relationship, especially when it comes to gas and the dependency on Russia that is there. But purely look in terms of percentage. In the last 2 years since this war has begun, Russia's percentage in terms of gas supply has dropped almost to 15%. And, America has stepped in with 19% of gas supply that's been done. Norway does roughly around 40% of the gas supply that the European Union needs. So, all in all, one takes a look at a picture, the geopolitical situation going from bad to worse. But purely in terms of how European Union will be able to balance this out, I think they have their problems very much sorted. The two countries, Austria seems to be almost out of this problem. They seem to have got assurances that their problem, especially when it comes to the shortage of gas supply, or this particular gas supply that stopped from the Russian angle, where do they get it filled from? They've got it sorted. The other two countries have taken two different approaches to facing this problem. One has been confrontational. One has said that if you don't give us supply, we're going to do this. The other has used different. They have rather used, I would say, something that's not seen in business. They have said before this gas supply hits Ukraine, or the pipeline through which it's supply of flowing into our country, we would buy the gas before that. So we are the owners of the gas. So we don't have the problem to be faced, or we rather don't face the problem when it comes to this gas supply in belonging to Russia that's been carried through this particular transit line that's there in Ukraine.
Okay.
So it's been a mixed bag of approach that countries have done, especially when it comes to facing this problem. But purely from a geopolitical situation, this displaces the apple cart. But having said that, Russia would have also understood that this problem was not going away so easily.
Okay.
But purely in terms of retaliation that Russia can do, especially to the pipelines that exist in Ukraine, could be something that could be worrisome for the world.
All right, we leave it there. Thank you so much, Anil. We're heading for a short break. Stay tuned to DD India.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Swagat ahe to magnetic Maharashtra, the land of valor, dreams and wonders. A state that is a perfect blend of rich cultural heritage and modern cosmopolitan India. Its breathtaking beaches and luscious green Western Ghats are home to 4 UNESCO World Heritage Sites that attract innumerable tourists. Maharashtra is
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News On. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky on Tuesday vowed that his country would use 2025 to fight for an end to the 3-year-long conflict with Russia by any means necessary. In a late-night address, the Ukrainian president said that no one would give peace to his country as a gift, but he believed the United States would stand alongside Kyiv as it fights to stop the 34-month-long conflict with Russia.
Дорогі українці, дорогі українки, нехай
Dear Ukrainians, may 2025 be our year, the year of Ukraine. We know that peace will not be given to us as a gift, but we will do everything to stop Russia and end the war. This is what each of us wishes for. Ukraine is not alone. We have our friends with us. Since the first minutes of this war, America has stood with Ukraine. I believe that America will also stand with Ukraine in the first minutes of peace.
І я вірю, що Америка буде.
In South Korea, investigators probing the Jeju air crash, which killed 179, have extracted the initial data from one of the Boeing 737-800's black boxes. It was South Korea's worst aviation disaster on home soil. The initial extraction has already been completed for the cockpit voice recorder. The Deputy Minister for Civil Aviation, Zhu Zhongwan, said that the experts were still reviewing how to extract the data from the second black box, the flight data recorder. South Korean investigators said Wednesday they would execute an arrest warrant for Yoon Suk-yeol over his declaration of martial law by the deadline on January 6 as the impeached leader's supporters rallied outside his residence. Supporters and opponents of Yoon, who was suspended from office by lawmakers over his attempt to subvert civilian rule last month, have been camped outside the compound where he has been holed up for weeks, fending off investigators' efforts to question him. The Corruption Investigation Office requested the warrant after Yoon failed to report for questioning a third time, but it has been unclear whether they could execute it as the Presidential Security Service have previously refused to comply with search warrants. CIO Chief Oh Dong-won said Wednesday the warrant would be executed within the deadline, which is on Monday, January 6. He also warned that anyone trying to block authorities from arresting Yoon could themselves face prosecution. Yoon's powers have been suspended since the opposition-controlled National Assembly voted to impeach him on December 14. The Constitutional Court is to determine whether to dismiss Yoon as president or reinstate him. On Wednesday, in the first minutes of the new year, 2 projectiles were fired from Gaza. Israel's military said one of which was intercepted while the other landed in an open area. Alert sirens sounded around midnight in the western Negev. The military said it has intercepted several rockets fired from northern Gaza in recent days. Since October, Israeli operations in Gaza have focused on the north, with officials saying their land and air offensive aims to prevent Hamas from regrouping. Syria's newly appointed Foreign Minister Assad Hassan al-Shaban said on Tuesday that he received a phone call from his Egyptian counterpart Badr Abdelati. Both the leaders discussed the importance of Damascus and Cairo in bringing peace to the region. The Egyptian Foreign Ministry said in a statement that Abdelati stressed his country's support for the Syrian people and its legitimate aspirations. He calling on all parties to preserve Syria's national institutions, its unity and sovereignty. Egypt's top diplomat also emphasized the importance that the political process adopts an inclusive approach for all Syrian national parties, reflecting the societal, religious, sectarian and ethnic diversity within Syria. Both ministers agreed to stay in contact. The internet sites of several French cities and at least one department were inaccessible. The attacks were claimed on X by a hackers group calling themselves No Name, the collective already known for other attacks and for defending Russian points of view. The mayor of Nice confirmed on X that the city's website had been targeted. According to cyber experts, the goal appears to be propaganda by creating an impression of a climate of digital insecurity. Later, Paris prosecutors opened an investigation into the matter, saying that a total of 23 sites were targeted. A major power outage plunged much of Puerto Rico into darkness on New Year's Eve after a grid failure left nearly all of the island without power. According to a statement from energy distribution company Luma Energy, around 90% of 1.47 million clients across the island were left in the dark. Luma said that it will likely take 24 to 48 hours to turn the lights back on. It added that the preliminary findings pointed to a fault in an underground cable as the cause of the outage, although the situation remained under investigation. Puerto Rico has long dealt with chronic power outages as its infrastructure crumbles. It was hit hard by Hurricane Maria, a Category 4 storm in 2017. Zimbabwe officially abolished the death penalty Tuesday after President Emerson Mnangagwa signed into law an act that will commute to jail time the sentences of about 60 prisoners on death row. The Death Penalty Abolition Act, published in Government Gazette on Tuesday, says courts can no longer deliver a sentence of capital punishment for any offence, and any existing death sentences would need to be commuted to jail time. However, one provision says the suspension of the death penalty may be lifted during a state of emergency. There has been a moratorium on executions in the southern African country since 2005, although courts have continued to hand down the death sentence for crimes including murder, treason and terrorism. 24 countries across sub-Saharan Africa have abolished the death penalty for all crimes, while 2 additional countries have abolished it for ordinary crimes only. An American man who absconded after being sentenced to prison for his role in the US Capitol riot is now seeking political asylum in Canada, apparently hoping for a pardon when Donald Trump returns to the White House. Anthony Vo was sentenced to 9 months behind bars and ordered to report to a federal prison on June 14 in 2024, but instead he fled to Canada. More than 1,500 people have been charged in connection with the January 6, 2021 assault on Congress, which sought to disrupt certification of US President Joe Biden's election victory. Vo, from Indiana, was convicted at a jury trial in Washington of 4 counts of entering a restricted building and disorderly conduct related to his actions. Ivory Coast president said on Tuesday that French forces would withdraw from the West African nation. France has been considering reducing its military presence in West and Central African countries, including Ivory Coast, to 600 troops from around 2,200 now. The former colonial part has already pulled its soldiers out from Mali, Burkina Faso and Niger following military coups in those West African countries and spreading of anti-French sentiment. The government of Chad, a key Western ally in the fight against Islamic militants in the region, abruptly ended its defense cooperation pact with France in November.
Mes chers compatriotes, chers frères,
My dear compatriots, dear brothers and sisters, we can be proud of our army, whose modernization is now a reality. It is within this framework that we have decided on the coordinated and organized withdrawal of French forces from Ivory Coast. Thus, the camp of the 43rd Marine Infantry Battalion in Port Boet will be handed over to the armed forces of Ivory Coast starting this January 2025.
sera rétrocédé.
Panama's President Jose Raul Mulino doubled down on the country's famed canal sovereignty during the 25th anniversary ceremony of the waterway transfer celebrated on Tuesday. The Central American country marked on Tuesday the 25th anniversary of the United States handover of its interoceanic canal. In 1977, recently deceased former US President Jimmy Carter signed the treaties that led to the vital waterway's eventual transfer on December 31st, 1999. The comments come after Trump threatened last week that the United States would retake control over the canal, which it administered for decades. Trump also argued that Panamanian authorities are ripping off US ships that cross it with high tariffs, something Mulino has denied.
It is by our neutral hands that nations do not fear that a strategic level canal like Panama's will take an active part in any conflict. Because Panamanians are interested in a more connected world with more open trade and greater exchange of goods between countries, there are no other hands in our canal but the Panamanians. You can rest assured it will stay in our hands forever.
On Iranian and Russian entities accused of attempting to influence the US 2024 presidential election. The entities are accused of using artificial intelligence to spread false information in an attempt to influence the US elections. The US Treasury, in an official statement, announced that it was imposing sanctions on both a subsidiary of Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and an affiliate of Russia's military intelligence agency over their efforts to stoke socio-political tensions and influence the US electorate during the 2024 election. The Treasury also alleged that the Russian entity used AI tools to quickly create disinformation, that it would be distributed across a massive network of fake news websites, and produced baseless accusations about a 2024 vice presidential candidate. The sanctions targeted minor entities, which are unlikely to have major economic effects on both countries. However, These sanctions mark another step backward in the already deteriorating relationship between Russia and Iran. US President Joe Biden returned to the US mainland on Tuesday after a short vacation at St. Croix in the US Virgin Islands. The Bidens were greeted on the tarmac by US Virgin Islands Governor Albert Bryan Jr. and US Virgin Islands lawmaker Stacey Plaskett. Biden and his wife will be traveling to the president's home state of Delaware. France's Prime Minister visited the Red Cross Indian Ocean Regional Intervention Platform in the French Indian Ocean territory of Reunion Islands on Tuesday. The French Prime Minister arrived in Mayotte following the devastation caused by Cyclone Chido, which struck the French archipelago in the Indian Ocean in mid-December. He vowed to prevent reconstruction of shanty towns in storm-hit Mayotte.
The state has the means and it must have them to prevent the rebuilding of shanty towns. I will never accept anyone saying that we don't have the means. I will never accept anyone saying that we will accept the situation as it is. Because who is going to pay? I will tell you who. It's the people of Mahor and poorest of the people of Mahor.
Let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. The relocation of 505 yellow iguanas to Santiago Island in the Galapagos has raised hopes of restoring the region's unique ecosystems. The 505 iguanas were previously captured on the Seymour Island and taken to Santa Cruz Island to be quarantined. Yellow iguanas has become extinct. In fact, had become extinct on Santiago Island due to the introduction of invasive species, but were later reintroduced into the ecosystem. Holding dolls and wearing wigs, people in Quito ran a costume race that echoes an Ecuadorian tradition held every year on December 31st, which originally consisted of men disguised as widows mourning the end of the year. Dear friends of former US President Jimmy Carter are sharing their sincere gratitude for the impact he had on their lives after the 100-year-old passed away at his home in Georgia. During his term, Carter struggled with a bad economy and the Iran hostage crisis, but he brokered a peace deal between Israel and Egypt and later received the Nobel Peace Prize for his mediation efforts and humanitarian work. US President-elect Donald Trump will attend Carter's state funeral on January 9th. About a dozen nuns of Nepal's hilltop Druk Amitabha monastery put on an amazing show of strength to hundreds of cheering well-wishers. The nuns performed to mark the institution's reopening 5 years after the COVID-19 pandemic forced it to close its doors to the public. Still to come on DD Indian News Hour. We'll get you the visuals of first dawn of 2025. One Nation, One Subscription to be launched on January 1st, nearly 1.8 crore students to benefit. We will give you an update on the weather as North India reels under a cold wave with snowfall continuing in the hill regions.
Watch India's groundbreaking strategies in cyclone management, where innovation meets resilience. Tune in to discover how India is leading the way in cyclone preparedness and response, pioneering cyclone solutions, saving lives and protecting communities. Watch DD India's exclusive insight on cutting-edge cyclone management techniques. Join us as we explore India's revolutionary approach to tackling cyclones head-on. The 1st of January 2025 at 6:30 p.m. IST or 12 p.m. GMT on Wednesday only on DD India.
You're watching DD News On. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj, and a quick recap of the headlines. Quad members renew pledge for working towards free, open and stable Indo-Pacific. India's External Affairs Minister highlights progress and contributions. Europe's Russian gas era comes to an end as Ukraine transit stops. Israel intercepts 2 projectiles fired from central Gaza in the first minutes of the new year. After US, French cities under the threat of cyber attacks, fear of digital insecurity looms large. World welcomes 2025 with fireworks and light shows. India ushers in New Year amid nail-biting cold. Reaffirming commitment to addressing the region's needs together, India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar, along with his Australian, Japanese and US counterparts, issued a joint statement from the Quad foreign ministers commemorating the 20th anniversary of Quad cooperation. India and other Quad member nations on Tuesday reaffirmed the grouping's steadfast commitment to work towards a free, open and peaceful Indo-Pacific. India, the US, Australia and Japan came together 20 years ago to extend assistance in response to the 2004 Indian Ocean earthquake and tsunami, and that coalition subsequently took form of the Quad. In the last few years, the Quad has rolled out a number of initiatives addressing some of the most pressing needs and challenges of the Indo-Pacific region, including in areas of maritime security, infrastructure and connectivity. Several northern states in India are reeling under a cold wave with snowfall continuing in the hill regions. Delhi continues to shiver after a sharp drop in night temperatures. India Meteorological Department predicts the temperatures to remain constant in the western Himalayan regions. However, they are expected to drop by 2 to 3 degrees Celsius in the central and east Indian states. More snowfall is expected in parts of Jammu and Kashmir and Himachal Pradesh in the coming 3 days. IMD has also issued warnings for ground frost in northeast Indian states and Himachal Pradesh. Dense fog conditions will remain for the next couple of days but are expected to get better from January 3rd. All right, and DD India's Shabir joins us from Srinagar. A very good morning to you, Shabir. First of all, just quickly tell us the weather updates, from there.
Yeah, good morning. Srinagar is, under the intense cold wave right now, and we are the Meteorological Department Center in Srinagar has predicted that beginning today, the Srinagar, the northern region, including the Jammu and Kashmir, will be hit by 2 western disturbances, which will bring the, variety of weather pattern in Jammu and Kashmir, from today and tomorrow. It is predicted that heavy rain and light snowfall in parts of Kashmir will be there, and from 3rd to 5th there is moderate and heavy snowfall prediction. So already there is sub-zero temperature. Last night -3 degrees was recorded in Srinagar, and in more intense chill and icy conditions was reported in parts of Kashmir, mostly in the hilly regions. So it is a new year, and people are here, enjoying the white, carpet laid in Kashmir few days back. Into tourist places like Gulmarg and Pahalgam, a lot of people have gathered to celebrate New Year. There is snow, but the extreme winter chill.
I was about to ask this, Shabir, that how's the tourist footfall there?
Yeah, tourist footfall is quite good this time around because it is a New Year. From the Christmas only, the tourists came here, and yesterday also lot of tourists arrived in these places like Gulmarg and Pahalgam, where tourists and locals did celebrate New Year. Although there was no official event related to the New Year, owing to the mourning for the former Prime Minister. So, but people and tourists individually had a gala time in Gulmarg and in Pahalgam, where snow is there amid intense chill and extreme weather conditions.
Definitely, tourists are having gala time there, Shabir, and I could also see some snow behind you. I hope you're also enjoying the snow. But thank you so much. We leave it there. Well, New Year celebrations in India are a colorful blend of local traditions, cultural practices and modern day festivities, making the occasion a vibrant and diverse celebration across the country. Let us take a look at how the country marked this special occasion in different regions.
India welcomed the year 2025 with celebrations across the country as people in various cities marked the occasion with joy and enthusiasm. Large crowds of devotees gathered at temples and ghats, marked by the blowing of conch shells and clanging of puja bells, to welcome 2025 with great fervour and joy. In Puri, devotees flocked to the Sri Jagannath temple and Puri beach to usher in the new year with hope and enthusiasm. A massive turnout was also witnessed at Sri Venkateshwara Swami temple in southern state of Andhra Pradesh, where devotees gathered to offer prayers and mark the beginning of the new year. Meanwhile, a large number of devotees also attended the Bhasma Aarti of Sri Mahakaleshwar Jyotirling temple in central state of Madhya Pradesh. On the other hand, various parties, cultural events, live music performances and themed decorations were also organized across the nation to welcome the new year. In Mumbai, beaches like Juhu, Chowpatty and Versova were packed with revelers. People also gathered at Marine Drive to watch the fireworks. In Himachal Pradesh's Manali, a popular tourist destination, crowds danced and cheered in the streets. Whereas huge crowds also gathered in West Bengal and Tamil Nadu to welcome the new year 2025 with dance and music. Bureau Report, DD India.
As the first sunrise of 2025 breaks over the horizon, it brings with it a sense of hope and renewal. As the dawn of 2025 broke, the sun rose over India. The country awakened to a new year full of hope and promise. The first sunrise of 2025 is also a reminder of the beauty and wonder of the natural world. The vibrant colors of the sky, the gentle warmth of sun's rays, and the sweet songs of the birds all conspire to fill our hearts with joy and gratitude. Let us embrace the possibilities of the new year and let us step into the dawn of 2025 with courage, resilience, and determination. As the world steps into 2025, India's President Draupadi Murmu and Prime Minister Narendra Modi extended greetings and wishes to countrymen for a prosperous year ahead. President Murmu extended her heartfelt greetings for the new year and wished for 2025 with joy, harmony and prosperity for all. President Murmu, in her message on social media platform, also called for creating a brighter, more inclusive and sustainable future for India as well as the world. Taking to X, PM Modi emphasizes the importance of new opportunities, personal growth and collective well-being as the guiding principles for the year. Mahakumbh Mela 2025, set to take place in the holy city of Prayagraj from January 13 to February 26, is poised to reaffirm its status as the world's largest congregation of faith and spirituality. Different departments of the Uttar Pradesh government are racing against time to finish the preparations. For the past few months, an army of workers has been diligently channeling the rivers, widening roads and leveling the ghats to transform the city in anticipation of one of the largest religious events in the world. The railways will run 3,000 special trains during the Mahakumbh 2025, out of which 560 trains will operate on ring rail. Additionally, the government has introduced an AI-powered chatbot, Kumbh Sahayak, it's pronounced as Kumbh Sahayak, to assist pilgrims with navigation, cultural information and travel updates. The 48-day festival will draw millions of devotees, saints and spiritual seekers to the Triveni Sangam, the sacred confluence of the Ganga, Yamuna and mythical Saraswati rivers, where they will partake in rituals and seek spiritual liberation. In the new year, Indian government has offered an innovative gift to its citizens who are engaged in teaching, studying or research. This is a unique program, One Nation, One Subscription, aimed at providing access to thousands of research articles and journals on a single platform to those in higher educational institutes beginning today. It's a new and unique scheme with no parallels existing in the country till now. Here's a report on what the One Nation, One Subscription scheme includes.
In a historic decision, the central government has approved the One Nation, One Subscription scheme, which seeks to make academic research accessible to everyone. With a budget of 6,000 crore rupees, the scheme will be implemented over 3 years from 2025 to 2027. Starting January 1st, the first phase will make more than 13,000 journals available to over 6,300 government academic and research and development institutions. The scheme will provide over 1.8 crore students, teachers, and researchers free access to thousands of journals and high-quality research publications. Students from Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities will also benefit from this initiative. It is expected to promote interdisciplinary research in the country, benefiting scholars and research from various fields.
We are expanding this access to our state public universities and other universities who do not have any budget to subscribe to these journals. So it is available to all the readers, particularly state public universities who earlier did not have funds, or affiliated colleges who did not have funds to subscribe to this.
The One Nation, One Subscription scheme involves 30 leading international journals publishers covering areas such as science, technology, engineering, mathematics, medicine, management, social sciences, and humanities. Beneficiaries will have access to complete collection of journals published by each participating publisher. This initiative expands upon the efforts made over the past decade to provide quality higher education to India's youth. It will complement the government's National Research Foundation initiative, which aims to foster a culture of research and innovation across government universities, colleges, and research institutions. By enhancing the ease of doing research for students, teachers, and researchers at government institutions, the scheme aspires to establish India as a global research ecosystem. One Nation, One Subscription scheme. Objective to make academic research accessible to all, budget of 6,000 crore rupees. Implementation over 3 years. Launch of first phase on January 1st, 2025. Over 13,000 journals for 6,300 plus government academic and R&D institutions. Beneficiaries include 1.8 crore plus students, teachers, and researchers. Free access to thousands of journals and high-quality research publications. Benefits extended to students from Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities. Focus on promoting interdisciplinary research, benefiting scholars and researchers across fields. 30 leading international journal publishers participating. Subjects include science, technology, engineering, mathematics, medicine, management, social sciences, and humanities. Full access to the entire collection of journals by participating publishers will be ensured. Nishant Saurabh's report for DT India.
Odisha artist Manas Sahu crafted a 20-foot wide sand sculpture at Puri Beach to celebrate New Year 2025. Using 10 tons of sand, the artwork completed in 7 hours conveyed the message Happy New Year 2025. Sahu has previously showcased his artistic talents through sand art. And still to come on DT India News Hour. India's core sector industries record 4.3% growth. Stocks end stronger with a whimper as yields apply pressure. And all updates from the 2024 World Blitz Championship title.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj. And the output of India's 8 core sector industries rose 4.3% year-on-year in November due to a robust growth in cement and steel production during the month. The November figures reflect an acceleration compared to the revised figure of a corresponding 3.7% growth in infrastructure output for October. Cement production surged by a robust 13% in November, while steel output grew 4.8%, slightly lower than the revised 5.2% increase the previous month. Electricity generation increased by 3.8%, improving from a revised 2% growth in October. Fertilizer production rose by 2%, a notable improvement from the 0.4% increase in October. The 8 core industries comprise 40.27% of the weight of items included in the Index of Industrial Production and are a good pointer to the overall industrial growth rate for the month. Global stocks declined on Tuesday, giving back earlier gains and were on track for a 4th straight daily fall as elevated US Treasury yields have contributed to a lackluster end to an otherwise strong year for equities. US equities have surged this year with the S&P 500 on track for its 5th annual gain in the past 6 years. The 2-year jump of about 53% would mark the strongest back-to-back annual performance for the index since 1997-1998. The rally has been fueled by growth expectations surrounding artificial intelligence, expected rate cuts from the US Federal Reserve, and more recently the likelihood of deregulation policies from the incoming Trump administration. Oil prices fell around 3% in 2024, slipping for a second straight year as the post-pandemic demand recovery stalled. China's economy struggled and the US and other non-OPEC producers pumped more crude into a well-supplied global market. Brent crude futures on Tuesday, the last trading day of the year, settled up 65 cents in fact to $74.64 a barrel. US West Texas Intermediate crude settled up 73 cents to $71.72 a barrel. The Brent benchmark settled down around 3% from its final 2023 closing price of $77.04, while WTI was roughly flat with last year's final settlement. Oil will likely trade around $70 a barrel in 2025 on weak Chinese demand and rising global supplies, offsetting OPEC Plus-led efforts to shore up the market, a Reuters monthly poll showed on Tuesday. You're watching DD India News. Our time now for sport and sports news. In chess, in fact, reigning World Blitz champion Norway's Magnus Carlsen shared the 2024 World Blitz Championship title with Russia's Ian Nepomniachtchi in New York on Wednesday. This is the first chess championship title that has ever been shared after the final ended in a tie. The decision came after 3 sudden death games failed to produce a winner. The final was a repeat of 2021 Classical World Championship match, where he had lost the match to Carlsen. This is Carlsen's 8th Blitz title and 18th major championship triumph after having won 5 Classical World Championships and as many Rapid World Championships ahead of this shared win. India's lone hope in the knockouts are Vaishali lost semi-finals of the World Blitz Championship. Vaishali suffered 2 straight losses to go down against China's Zhu Wenjun 0.5 to 2.5. Vaishali in the quarterfinal against China's Zhu, but turned around quickly to win the matchup 2.5, 1.5 after 4 games. Vaishali was the lone Indian to qualify for the second stage after newly crowned World Rapid Champion Koneru Hampi missed out on the top 8, finishing in 9th place. On to hockey. India League now. Hyderabad Tufans registered their first win of the league on Tuesday. Hyderabad Tufans defeated Delhi SG Pipers 5-4 in the shootout after a 2-2 draw in regulation time at the Birsa Munda Stadium in Rourkela. With this win, Hyderabad Tufans win a bonus point. Spanish soccer giants Real Madrid held a public practice session to mark the new year in Madrid on Tuesday. Thousands of fans packed the stadium to watch the players during the traditional end-of-the-year event, as regular practice sessions happen behind closed doors. Real Madrid ends 2024 in second place in La Liga standings, 1 point behind rival Atletico Madrid. Australia's head coach Andrew McDonald remained hopeful that pace bowler Mitchell Starc would be available for the fifth and final test against India. McDonald said Starc had a niggle and a decision would be made closer to the match, which begins on 3rd of January in Sydney. The left armour is crucial for Australia if they were to win the Border Gavaskar Trophy since 2014. Starc was in pain on the final day of the fourth test, pinching at his back and grimacing at the start of his spells. Australia have added Sean Bott and Jai Richardson to their test squad. The hosts lead the 5-match series 2-1. As the clock struck midnight on December 31st, 2024, people across the globe came together to usher in the year 2025 with grand celebrations. Here's a glimpse at how the world welcomed the new year.
3, 2, 1, Happy New Year 2025!
As the world rings in 2025, cities from New York to Paris, Greece to Tokyo, and everywhere in between are celebrating the dawn of the new year with fireworks, music, and dazzling festivities. Paris kicked off 2025 with massive fireworks on Wednesday, which momentarily engulfed the Arc de Triomphe monument in a fiery display. While Greece's ancient Parthenon temple on the Acropolis had a quiet new year with limited fireworks and a small drone display to ring in 2025. Whereas Qatar welcomed the new year with a grand drone and firework display at Lusail Boulevard, drawing hundreds of people late on Tuesday. People gathered at a Christmas market in Damascus to celebrate New Year with fireworks in the early hours of Wednesday. United Arab Emirates welcomed the New Year as fireworks shone over Ras Al Khaimah, while Dubai displayed a stunning fireworks at the world's tallest skyscraper, Burj Khalifa, on Tuesday. Hundreds gathered to watch the nearly 9-minute-long show titled Beyond Dreams, featuring fireworks, lasers, and colorful displays on the Burj Khalifa.
3, 2, 1, here we
Thailand rings in 2025 with eco-friendly fireworks crafted from sticky rice, spanning 1,400 meters across the Chao Phraya River in the heart of Bangkok. In Hong Kong, a dramatic firework display was organized over Victoria Harbour to welcome 2025. Hundreds of fireworks lit up the sky as music played throughout the 12-minute spectacle.
That's all for this edition of DD India News Hour. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour, and once again, a very happy new year.